Hello again, everybody out there listening to Wise Up from Wise Components. I'm Anthony Romeo. Yes, I am not Joe Rogan. I am Anthony Romeo. So if you're listening to this podcast, you are a fan of the ICT community, information community, and technologies. Today, our special guest is Dustin Stumpf. He's with the Brady Corporation. Applause, please. Keep
There
it
it
to a
is.
minimum.
There it is. There it is.
Right, there it is. Right. So Dustin, um, where are you coming from today? Where are you hanging your hat these days?
Yeah, Milwaukee, Wisconsin. So cold. Today a little bit rainy. Tomorrow probably snow. Yeah.
Yeah, no, you gotta love the winter, right? I saw something the other day on I believe it was TikTok, and it was somebody in the Milwaukee area saying showing a clip of the negative temperatures, and she said, "Why do we live here again?" But in any
Remember
case,
that.
I'm not here to talk about geography or weather. We're here to talk about you and what it is you're doing at the Brady Corporation. And not to be confused, folks, Brady is not Tom Brady. Brady Corporation's been around a lot longer than Tom Brady has won rings and Super Bowls and whatnot, right? So out of Milwaukee, Wisconsin, Dustin works for the Brady Corporation. Dustin, let me ask you this question. So, one, what is it that you do other than join me on a podcast that could be heard on Spotify, any way you stream? What is it that you do at Brady Corporation?
Yeah, so I've been with Brady for 5 years. I'm a global product manager. In layman's terms, that is, I get to come up with new product ideas, vet them out with customers. I travel all over the country. I get to travel internationally even. Sit down with some of the customers that we serve today and understand their business and what they do and how does labeling fit into it and how can we make it easier for them. And then, right, launch new products to help make their job easier.
Yeah.
Pretty fun gig.
Well, what brought you to this position? Like, did you wake up in the morning and you say, "Mom, Dad, I want to work for Brady"? Like, how did you get here?
Well, a couple things. So I cut my teeth for about 10 years in the financial services industry,
Okay.
and not really kind of my cup of tea. I really grew up around people working in the trades. My father was a maintenance mechanic, then he was a large machine shop floor supervisor, multiple uncles that owned construction companies, plumbers, electricians, and that's the environment that I grew up in and around. And working in product management in those type of markets, those are the people I'm used to working with. And maybe I haven't done the trades myself, but I have a lot of respect for the work that they do.
Yeah, no, people who get their hands dirty, much respect for them, and especially the unsung heroes in the ICT community. Most of the folks that are, putting the networks together, whether it be security, wireless, AV, or just the network, it's the important thing. That's what we're talking about on these episodes of Wise Up from Wise Components is the stuff behind the walls, above the ceilings. What's make the world go around. I myself are working from home office today. You are in probably your home office as well, and then that's going to a data center, right? Whether it be in a data center environment, an office, IDF or an MDF closet, you need to understand the identification of where everything is situated because the network is so important. It is the foundation that allows healthcare to run smoothly, education facilities to be able to educate our youth, right? And with something as plain and simple as some people might think, it's crucial, it's critical. Now think about this. You were in the financial industry. If there was not proper labeled identification in their network closet or their data center, and the opening bell opened up, and somebody unplugged something that they shouldn't because it wasn't identified, mind blowing, right?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
there's a
I
lot of
should.
companies. There's a lot of companies out there, right? So that say, hey, we're going to label, we're going to identify, we're going to do it. What makes Brady what puts Brady at the top? I love Ferrari. Ferrari's a wonderful car. Um, Today I don't own one, right? I got a Ford, right? So how
Mhm.
do I get that Ferrari? Well, why should a person buy the Ferrari as known as Brady um, equipment?
Yeah, we really pride ourselves in the high performance labels that we provide. And regardless of the type of environment that you're in, the facility I'm in, right, I'm in an R&D facility, we have a whole area of chemists that all they do is they optimize the adhesion and the quality of the label to make sure that it withstands whatever environment it's in, whether it's oils, whether it's UV, whether it's heat from a server rack. That's really what we do here at Brady. And then, of course, we own the end-to-end solution. So our technical support is right here in Milwaukee. We provide the labels, we provide the printers that print those labels, and the software to help you design them. It's really a one-stop shop for the customer base.
Right. So that's it. End the show. Great job. Appreciate you coming out. Right. Done. No. So with all that said, that's a mouthful. Brady's been doing it a long time. And again, Dustin, we can't thank you enough for coming out on the show as a authorized reseller of your products. We hear from the blue collar workers in the ICT community all the time, and that's what they tend to go to. The BMP 21 was their go-to product for a number of years. I know we just had an event with Brady. Was kind enough to um, provide some of these BMP 21s to some of the ICT and security contractors that we did this event with, and they nothing but high praise for the durable, reliable product the BMP 21 is. Now, what's changing? What's new? Is the BMP 21 that's it, the end all be all, and you have nothing else and you're going fishing, or is there something else out there?
I think that's a segue, huh? Yeah, so a few things let me hit on first. So, we have 7 different portable printers in our portfolio today, and really we have 3 pillars that we're always following when we're developing these printers. And the first is dependability. We know that our customers, when they want to label or when they have to label, right, they need to. We don't want them to have any issues at that point in time. And then durable. We know that our printers are used in some industrial environments. They're treated like heavy equipment, thrown around, dropped, and they need to withstand that. And then the third and the most important is really that they are designed for our user in mind. And that's really important because we see a couple different trends happening in the marketplace today, especially in ICT. The first is just changing demographics. And what happens is, from a Brady perspective, we serve customers, whether they are that average electrical contractor, ICT contractor that's 58 years old, has 30 plus years of experience, and the way they do the work is the way they do their work, and they don't want it to change. All the way to those that are coming out of college, out of the trades, who maybe grew up with technology or a different set of technology, and so their technology expectations are different. We at Brady want to make sure that we can address both of them. Now, so the first big change, I guess, that we're making is really for that traditional user base of ours, and that is a couple updates to our BMP 21 Plus. So the BMP 21 Plus that you mentioned is going to get a shiny new name, the M210, and but 99% of its functionality remains the same. So it's still the traditional ABC keypad. The difference is we've added a material gauge. So every single time you print, on the screen we display, hey, how much material is remaining in my cartridge? That prevents me from having to take this cartridge out, looking on the backside and see how much is left. The other thing that we added is really this enhanced communication between the cartridge itself and the printer. That's what allowed that material gauge that we added. but it also allowed us to expand the amount of materials that we offer on this printer. So this is, we know, our entry-level printer. It's where most of our customers learn about Brady, and we want to show them, right, that breadth of high-performance labels that we offer. So we've added a repositionable label offering, a couple different SKUs, great for racks. Think of the data centers, and I should have mentioned earlier, my first job out of college was a Windows Server admin. So I was in a data center all day, every day, labeling servers, racks, Cat6 cables, fiber, etc. And this is a great tool in that type of environment. The other thing that the enhanced communication gets us is new pre-sized labels. And all I mean by that, I'm going to show this nice, real fancy demo board.
High tech here, high tech. And for those who are just listening, just so you know, for those who are just listening and not seeing the what Dustin's holding up, it's a very high-end, highly sophisticated demo board made out of paper mache. No, it's showing all the different widths of labels and size of font that Brady could offer with the M210. The cartridges that you're highlighted there, are those cartridges interchangeable? So you could still use the BMP21 that you had. You don't have to buy a new one. So if you're not seeing again, and you're only listening to this podcast, the cartridges that you've had purchased in recent years and months and weeks ago, those are interchangeable with the M210. Is that correct?
So months ago, we rolled out the new cartridges with this enhanced communication. And so an easy way to tell is to take a look at the label on the cartridge, and there'll be a little A icon that says authentic underneath it. That means that that cartridge will work in both a BMP21 Plus and the new M210. If the label cartridge does not have that Brady Authentic logo, it will not work in the M210. But as I mentioned, we made that change months ago, so most of our customers have already burned through their old cartridges.
Yeah, no, figured. You have the novice that are working in the ICT community that they're not doing it every day, but they still buy the products. I have friends that know nothing about the network infrastructure, yet they have punch down tools. It's like, so there's always that one person on your block that's always looking for the latest and greatest just to have it. So.
Absolutely.
So what kind of services, if you would go to your website, what kind of services does one can experience on your website today, as far as upcoming events or trainings? Is that all easy peasy to find?
Yeah, we always we do a variety of different webinars throughout the year. I myself will be on a webinar talking about these products here coming in early April. So we do a variety of webinar series. We do white papers that talk about industrial use cases of these label printers. A lot of different marketing collateral that you can find right out on our Brady ID site.
Wow, that's terrific. I mean, a lot of times, the consumers they buy from a big name. I don't want to say who, but it starts with an A. And they don't have that same level of support because there's not a human connection there. There's a website, there's an ID, and then that's it. And us at Wise Components, as an authorized reseller of Brady, we always like to reach out and touch our customers and ensure that they're properly educated on what's the latest and greatest out there. So it's good to have that connection with your authorized reseller, whether it be Wise Components or somebody else that you're dealing with. Dustin, let me ask you, in addition to the M210, there might be some other things, because I notice over your shoulder there's a board. It says want a label, and it's got M210, which you just went over in detail, and then there's another little product there. Looks like an old Kodiak camera. Matter of fact, when I looked at it, I grabbed it, and for those who you can't see, it's about the size of the palm of your hand. And I had this camera that we used to buy from a Kodak booth, if you're old enough to remember, before the iPhone and cameras were high end. You would go on vacation and you go to a Kodak booth and you would pick up a little black and yellow throwaway disposable camera. And I look at the M211 and it fits in the palm of your hand. It's very very dainty, right? But that, just because it's dainty, I was just gonna say that just because it's dainty looking doesn't mean that it's not durable, right, Dustin?
Yeah, so the M211. So really, I talked earlier about those two trends that were happening in the marketplace. The first around the demographic change. The second is really just the proliferation of mobile devices out on industrial work sites. You go into a data center now, there are tablets, there are phones, there's software productivity solutions installed on those phones, and we want to make sure we're taking advantage of those trends. So the M211 is entirely driven by our Express Labels mobile app. No keypad to have to learn, no firmware on a printer.
So what you were talking about though before about that the 58-year-old plus, it's not so much the age as the use of your cell phone, because I know people that are
Yes.
70 years old and they have the latest and greatest iPhone or Samsung or whatever type of mobile device. They just love gadgets. So for those of you who love gadgets and are working in the field and you love the use of your both Android and ISO platform, I'm assuming both, correct? I don't want to put
iOS and Android.
So look at that. So now you have that use case that you can utilize your phone, right? That's terrific. Another, mind blowing.
Absolutely. I got a good story for you real quick.
Go for it.
So we did a lot of market research. I was at a focus group study at the National Electrical Contractors Association. And we had a gentleman walked into the room in that demographic that you mentioned, probably I think he told us he was in his late 50s. And he walked in, he sat in the back of the room, right center table. And for those of you who can't see what I'm doing, he leaned back in his chair, crossed his arms, and just kind of glared at me. And I thought right away, all right, this is someone that has heard what we're going to talk about and is not really impressed. And 30 minutes later, after walking him through the product and actually giving him hands-on experience with it, I look back, I see him with his cell phone out, and he's taking a picture of the printer. And I say, whoa, one, let's not take any pictures yet, but what are you doing that for? And he said, hey, I'll tell you what, I came into this session thinking that I was going to absolutely hate this product. And after seeing what it's doing, I want to take a picture so I know what product to buy when it launches in April. Yeah. And here was someone who was, as he mentioned, late 50s, but he was a technology early adopter.
Right.
And so he was looking for the cool gadget.
Yeah, no, I find that sometimes it's not age, it's just that the technology adapter, as you point out. I know people that are far older than me and they have far more advanced telephones, cell phones, smartphones than I do, being a younger man. But so now that it can work with your phone, what are some of the advantages, and can you show us or go through how the mobile app would integrate with labeling?
Yeah, I can definitely do that. So I think you can see my screen for those that are watching the podcast anyways. What's really nice about the M211 is it has the latest in Bluetooth technology. So it makes connecting to this printer very, very simple. I pair with it one time and then it's persistent. I turn the printer off and on, I connect. My phone turns off and on, it connects. I walk out of the Bluetooth range 65 feet, come back in, it reconnects. So a real nice connection experience. But then here on the home screen, this is the home screen for the Express Labels app. That's the free app. You see a bunch of icons. And what's nice here is there are label design guides unique to specific types of labels. So in the ICT world, right, think of labeling patch panels
Right.
or the actual Cat6 cable with a wrap, or maybe you want to put a label, a flag on some fiber optic cables, right? We have unique label design guides that walk you through that. The other thing that's really nice is you have a full screen to work with. So when I go into our editor, I can see the full label before I actually print it. I'm not just seeing one row of text on my screen and hitting print and praying that the label comes out right. So I can reduce any label material waste. The other things that I can do in the app, just because it's software, we have a wider breadth of options. So I added text, for example, to this label. I have 85 different font options that I can select from. Typically on a portable printer, I have, I don't know, maybe 5 or so. And the other thing I can do is I can add some barcodes. If I want to do barcoding, I can add up to 22 different barcode symbologies that I can select from, both linear
Wow.
and 2D. And I know I'm getting a little geeky on you here, but those that have used barcodes understand what I'm talking about.
So let me
So
ask you, not to interrupt, you're on
yeah,
a
go ahead.
roll. Let me ask you this: if this is mobile based and it's through an app, let's just say I've been talking to a lot of different manufacturers, fiber, particularly fiber manufacturers, and the some of the things that have been happening in the recent months and years is that the labor force is not always highly skilled. They're being trained and they're being updated, and sometimes there's language barriers, and what's said in one language might not result in the same language, and vice versa, right? So what I'm getting at is if you have new people on the job and they don't know the SKU or the sequence of the labeling, or they maybe English is not their first language, or vice versa, the other language is not your first language, and it's can somebody else take over and just submit to the M211 like a script of what needs to be printed out, so that when they get to the job site, it's all done for them?
Yeah, so one of the neat features of the app is the ability to share. So think of a scenario, maybe you have uh, a manager of a bunch of folks that work in a data center, or maybe it's a datacom contracting company. You have someone in the office that's going to create all the label files and then is just going to email it out to the folks that are going to be doing the labeling themselves. And maybe that's a brand new employee. Maybe it's someone that's been working in the business for a while. And what that looks like here on my home screen, actually at the bottom, I have this recent files. I can go ahead, I'm going to tap on the one called sequence. And now I have the ability to see the entire label sequence that was already previously created, and I can go ahead and print. I don't even have to design the label. Or maybe I'm the one here that designed it, and on the top right area there's an option for sharing. And then I can go ahead and I can share this label file with anyone else through AirDrop, Messages, Gmail, whatever mail service you have installed, Google Drive, different cloud storage providers. So it makes sharing those label files a lot easier and it makes you more efficient.
Right. Yeah, less room for error. How many times that if you have somebody else going into the closet the next day, different project manager, different person coming to the site, and the SKU's off by one, and then you spend 7 hours doing, a new pattern, that means that everything has just been screwed up. So,
Yep, yep, absolutely.
less room for error, right? We could always still make a mistake, but nonetheless, it helps. No, this is dynamite. Honestly, for those of you not seeing it, if you know how to operate your cell phone, your smartphone rather, this is the device for you, the M211 from Brady Corporation. Um, I would say get your orders in as early as possible because this thing's going to be flying off the shelves. Dustin, so basically, everything that you've done in the last 5 years at Brady Corporation is just to, try to improve upon a better mousetrap, right? So it's definitely kudos to you and the team. I know there's a lot of people behind you. Brady Corporation is a very large entity, so it's not one man and one show. It's multiple players that are involved in the birth of this new product, as well as some of the improvements that were done to the BMP 21 Plus. For those who don't know, there's so many other variables to the Brady Corporation, from safety signage, thermal imaging, and other things, wraps, as Dustin mentioned as well. We have several customers that we provide a lot of the Brady labels to, based upon their specification, just to help them along their way as another added service to working with our organization. But for those of you who are listening to the podcast, which can be streamed on just about any platform such as Spotify, Apple iTunes, Anchor, and others, you could also check us out on social media. We're Wise Components, WiseUP from Wise Components. Check out the Brady Corporation. I assure you they have a ton of information, both on their website as well as LinkedIn and other social media platforms. Brady's always promoting. And again, as Dustin pointed out, but earlier in the chat, for future events, when they have things coming up, you could see that on the website. But I encourage that you follow them on social media platform, as well as the team here at WiseUP from Wise Components. We'd love to have you come in and see this particular episode, but all the other episodes, because Dustin is part of a world-class team now, joining the guest speakers of WiseUP. His colleague Tim was on one of the episodes in an earlier season, and we had a great conversation and a lot of good feedback. So be sure to comment when we post these out on the social media page, YouTube channels. Sharing is caring. You could say that you don't like my haircut or what the shirt I'm wearing, but you can't say that the content we're providing is piss poor. It's to the heart, right? Everything that we do is for a reason. Just like you said earlier today, labeling, very important to identify. You don't want to shut down the New York Stock Exchange or the NASDAQ because you pulled the wrong cable out of the patch panel. You don't want to walk down the wrong corridor because it's been secured and wasn't addressed properly. So for those you don't know, I'm talking with Dustin Stumpf from Brady Corporation, and he was highlighting some of the great things that he's brought to the table to us today, like the M210 and the M211 that will be available. You can only purchase that from Wise Components. No, I'm just kidding. You can purchase that from any authorized reseller of Brady Corporation. I would say be sure who you're dealing with, because at the end of the day, if something needs to be dealt with, you want to understand that you trust and you can rely on the people that you purchased that product from. So, Dustin, anything else you like to add other than the temperature in Milwaukee, Wisconsin?
No, the last thing I'll say around the 210, 211 is just keep in mind they use the exact same label cartridge. So anyone with a mixed labor force, you can buy one set of labels, and then depending on the type of technology they want to create them, they can choose the printer. M210 if they want the keypad, M211 if they want the mobile driven experience. And this is a good example of the innovation that Brady talks about, and we continue to innovate. So there'll be more to come for sure.
I definitely agree. I concur with everything you just said. So again, thank you all for listening out there. Thank you for continuing to following us. I'm Anthony Romeo. This is WiseUP. Remember, the stuff behind the walls, above the ceiling, it matters. It's the foundation. Every vertical. You can't be working from your home in your pajamas today if it's not for a network. So make sure that when you see the IT guy, you thank him, right? Unsung hero, real man of genius. So Dustin, again, thank you so much. This has been a hoot. I really appreciate you coming out, and I look forward to doing some great business and maybe future podcasts with you.
Yep, for sure. Thanks for having me. Really appreciate it.